Okay, everyone, thanks for sticking with us in this virtual Jumpstart model. We're up to the fourth week. Thank you for sticking with us. I trying to find a way of covering the information that I thought would be useful, especially this last week. And the topic I created chose was simply what lies ahead. And if we were at home in Seattle, behind me for my Zoom meetings and my videos for adults, I ripped out the cover of one of the front sections of the New York Times from May, that in huge print it said, "No one knows what's going to happen." And that's true, and you certainly know that. You know, your parents operating from home, and you've been, as I've described to students, within a day you tripled your workload. You went from being parents and caretakers to then being an employee who worked at home while being a parent caretaker, and then was a co-teacher while being an employee and a parent caretaker. And I explained that in my videos to my students last year, of helping students be patient because your parents switched from parent to this three-rolled person. And it looks like that's back. The kindergarten team at Bryant is exceptional. I'll say that both as an insider and an outsider. We are a very solid group of trained professionals who deeply care about each other and deeply care about our students, all of our students. Bryant kindergartens have some exemplary programs that are collaborative, and we'll be talking as our planning increases, because we don't know yet, of how we can still deliver some of that to all the kindergarten students and not just our own, share the workload, as well as getting to become a resource that the entire kindergarten community sees in the kindergarten team. An example of that is in the spring, we moved from in-person to within a day, school open, buildings closed, and then developed a very comprehensive, in my humble opinion, plan of instruction for the entire kindergarten community. Teachers were teaching different ways to their own students, and then we created a single planning document that we were able to send out to all the kindergarten families, in which each teacher contributed a curricular strand. And so all of the kindergarten students were learning from all the kindergarten teachers who they already knew, but in a more instructional vein than they had spent time with us necessarily before. Word work, science, writing, math. Each teacher took a curricular strand and then created videos, which we then delivered to families. And then families could watch them whenever they could. Some families set a time for 9 o'clock. Every day, we will do this at home, because that worked for that family. And however their home and work schedules were aligned. Other families did it in chunks, 15 minutes of instructional videos, and then students did other things at home, and then they came back, an hour later and did more. And whatever that capacity was over the course of the day. There was the direct instruction, and then there was independent student work using that instruction on worksheets that we provided. It was remarkable and exceptional, and of the highest caliber, and more than anybody else I had seen, to be blunt. I anticipate there'll be some kind of model like that coming up at some point. Kindergarten teachers are still planning and brainstorming on our own list of possibilities, while still waiting to hear what the district directives and initiatives are. Kindergarten team is extremely communicative, and you'll be hearing from us as a team, as individuals, to provide to you the tools to have that home instruction while still cultivating a relationship with your student and with that greater lens that is your family. As I've described to students and families and anyone who listens in the past, one of the reasons the K model, the remote model that Bryant had, and others as well, but I'm just going to speak for Bryant, was so successful this spring was because we had kids from September to March. They knew us, cared about us, and bought into what we were selling, learning. And so we flipped and switched, and suddenly we're on the screen. It was lumpy, it was not quite as fun or as dynamic, but it was people they knew and cared about. So they enjoyed, bought into, continued commitment to the kindergarten team as their instructional leaders. every other grade level ahead of us had years. If you were first grade, you at least had kindergarten, a whole year of kindergarten, to then build upon when everything shifted. Kindergarten's only had 6 months. People, specifically kindergarten teachers, are raising their hands and saying, K is going to be different this year because of that dynamic. Everyone else had that practice. Now this year's kindergarten kids don't even have those 6 months. So the teams, Brian, K team, has been talking, chatting, texting, emailing, phoning, brainstorming over the course of the summer. Not so much on vacation, but trying to develop ideas and plans for us to consider among ourselves while waiting for the directives and the initiatives to come from the district. I can say with sincerity and honesty that we will give you a memorable school year. Memorable in the right way. It's going to be memorable no matter what we do. Because no one knows what's going to happen. Because of how we operate and how we are committed to students, families, and the delivery of quality instruction to your students. We're going to miss those critical in-person hours, days, weeks, months that last year's students did have. We need to pivot our work in a way that cultivates attention, cultivates allegiance, cultivates purpose and student identity to the teacher they will be connecting with and connecting with. As we open up remote learning. Building closed, school open. The safety and health of all of us are major considerations. I know that was part of the idea of buildings being closed. I know you're going to continue that same behavior at home. Trusting, way down deep in hearts, that the building will be open at some point. And then that will be the reverse flip of that, from remote to in-person. Having, statistics aside of instances and cases and phases, but having students who are ready to come back to us in person for the first time, and having all those safety and health procedures so embedded of how that works with masks and whatever comes up next and whatever is designed and delivered, shields and protective PPE that protects children, and hand washing, that you continue to cultivate those behaviors, which will be critical when schools open up, and keeping track of that. We hope that through this virtual jumpstart, through the videos, through our communications, that we've earned your trust, and that can be transferred to your student. They see, hear, know that you trust us, and that opens up their hearts and their brains to begin to do the same thing with us as individuals, to the person assigned to the class, but also to the teachers assigned to the kindergarten grade level. And they see all of us as resources. We will and want to develop the relationship with your student within the context of this remote class, and with the relationship with you. This team model of the two of us working together to serve the needs of your child is tantamount in how we will be operating this year. We're going to miss that people part, so we need to be doing things carefully and intentionally with you to encourage that trust, maintain that trust, and continue that trust into the future, couched with all the pieces that go around that, of instruction, of assessment, of communication, and care. And we hope that you are able and ready and willing to extend that hand, perhaps gloved, perhaps long distance, that is about this relationship that comes together. There's a type of instructional model called cultural competence that teachers believe in and subscribe to. It's a national way of thinking. And the 4 pillars of that are 4 R's. And it's how we interact with students, with the idea of cultural competence and the idea of respecting beyond the majority culture. But I think it's an operative format of thinking that really translates to many elements of instruction and education. And the first R is relationship. The second R is relevance. The third R is rigor. And the fourth are results. Relationship, relevance, rigor, and results, with the idea that you build the connection with students. Once they understand our roles and begin to trust us and develop all those student skills of attention and listening and complying and bringing your work back, then understanding the relevance of why we are teaching, what we are teaching, how we are teaching, and future applications and usability. From understanding that relevance of the content, then comes the rigor and being able to deliver the content, the intricacies of teaching in levels that challenge what they know, what they think, what they feel, and raising their brain power up. And then the results are the kind of applications, extensions, and assessments that show that they know that rigor based upon the relevance that started with the relationship. And that piece of the relationship is what we are looking to establish with the students, but also equally important with you as the family. Welcome to Bryant. Thank you. See you around. Go Bryant Hawks!